one day we had gone somewhere and she had a really pretty dress that she just loved. And she tried to put it on and we couldn't fasten it. And she just dissolved into tears and
Mm.
started talking about how she wasn't the way she wanted to be. She looked down one day and said, "Look, Mom, my belly is gone." And because she had a very pronounced stomach
Mhm.
and it just really, I don't know, almost looked bloated. And we were in the store one day and we were just going to whatever we were looking at. And she looked down and she drew my attention to the fact that her stomach was gone. And I had noticed it getting smaller, but it was basically gone, at least comparatively. And
Mhm.
she was so happy. My name's Tamara, and my daughter's name is Leticia, and she is 13.
You just finished a 16-week program, and I wanted to invite you to share your experience as authentically as possible. And to be transparent, I didn't give you any context or any questions before this video, so I wanted to really
You,
keep it as real as I could. If you feel comfortable, could you describe before this program, what was a day in your life like before starting?
okay. Leticia and I were both struggling with our energy levels,
Mhm.
and we were both struggling with being overweight. She was actually, I think, technically obese at the time. I was overweight, and I'm not sure exactly where all we fell at there. Um, we were eating, she was having trouble with portion sizes.
Mhm.
I was having trouble figuring out what to do for her to help her out, and as well as myself, because I was in a cycle of lose and gain and lose and gain back.
Mm. So we'll have time to go really deep. I'll ask you a lot of questions about that, but this is
Okay.
just to get a broad overview. And if you could describe your experience completing the program, maybe in one sentence, what would it be?
Life changing. Is
Interesting.
that one word?
That's one sentence, and
That's one
I
sentence.
hear that often, so it's really great to hear that.
Yes.
So before we dive in deeper, let me give the viewer some additional context for the video. The goal of
Okay.
this is to show parents a real, honest experience of how the program helped your family. I want you to share the good and the bad, and we'll let the parents essentially decide for themselves if this is the right fit for them, right? And if you say anything sensitive that you want removed, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll keep everything in just to keep it
Okay.
really raw and authentic.
Okay.
Sounds good? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, let's dive deeper. So I want to ask you, why was it important for you to help your daughter lose weight?
Every member of her biological family is either diabetic or pre-diabetic,
Mhm.
and it was very scary to me to just watch her getting bigger and bigger and less active. And she had previously been much more active and had not had a weight issue.
Mm.
And I was trying to sort all of that out as to why that would be and what I could do about it without making her extremely self conscious and feeling bad about herself because
Mhm.
she was starting to notice herself too, that she was bigger than she really wanted to be.
So what were the signs that you were seeing?
She would sometimes just say, I'm I'm fat, or not very often, just maybe two or three times. But one day we had gone somewhere and she had a really pretty dress that she just loved, and she tried to put it on and we couldn't fasten it, and she just dissolved into tears and
Mm.
started talking about how she wasn't the way she wanted to be and she didn't want to get rid of her dress. So that's one of her goals right now, is to fit back in that dress. We kept it. I said, well, we're going to keep it and you're going to get back into it because it's plenty long. So
I
that's
see.
what we're trying to do. And let's get her back in the dress. That's not the like the overall goal, but that's just like something that she wanted to do. And she even
I
knows
see.
it's in her closet and that she's trying to get back into it.
I see. So before joining this program, could you share a bit about what you tried to try to help her?
Uh, Yeah, we tried doing what I was calling Whole Foods.
Hmm.
Um, Not really sure I was doing it correctly, and I didn't know everything that I needed to know to like really stay motivated about that. And so that was a problem. Plus, we were both just fatigued all the time, and it was hard to stay, I guess, on track that way.
Hmm.
And we were just kind of out on our own and didn't really have like a support group or anybody that was there. And I didn't know what to do, especially about the portion sizes, because she
Hmm.
just kept eating, eating, and eating. And I started trying putting up food before we would even start eating, like put all the stuff I didn't want her to eat at this meal
Yeah.
and put it up so it wasn't all, like as opposed to trying to eat the whole pot of stew, where she would just have like a decent sized bowl of stew. So there was that, and there was some pretty negative modeling as far as some people that we were uh, around as far as
Hmm.
junk food and giving her junk food and things like that. And I think that's pretty much. I had tried a couple of things and lost some weight, but she did not seem interested in those things that I was doing at the time. But
Yeah.
they really didn't involve her. They were more or less counting calories,
Hmm.
and um, that was pretty much it. Counting calories, counting expended calories, and doing the math. And
Hmm.
it really didn't, I guess, impact her or involve her in any kind of way.
So why do you think that didn't work um, before?
Why did it not work for me?
I mean, either of you, either for you or for her, why do you think those things didn't work?
Well, I think because that's all it was. It was just counting calories.
Hmm.
And as I counted calories, then the metabolism, I guess, was adjusting. So ultimately, what was happening was I was eating less and less calories, but it wasn't helping me lose any more weight.
I
And then
see.
eventually, even though I was eating the same amount of calories, I started gaining weight back.
I see.
And I think it had something to do with what the calories were from, just as much or more so than how many there were.
I see. So it sounds like you were restricting yourself, probably not eating the right kinds of food, and you were feeling hungrier but not losing weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was having less and less energy and
Hmm.
was just becoming miserable. I had joint pains and all kinds of things were happening.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I hear that all the time. That's usually what people are recommended to do is to reduce calorie consumption, but not really in the most effective way. It's always these kinds of either keto or low carb or just counting the raw calories, nothing sustainable. Um, so how did you, if you remember, how did you find out about the Step Together program?
I was had decided that I, as strange as this sounds, I had decided I didn't care about my own weight, but I was going to have to do something to help my daughter, help
Hmm.
Leticia. So I went on and I was looking for anything that might help a preteen, early teen child with weight,
Hmm.
with a weight issue. And one of the first things that I saw was Step Together. And so
Hmm.
I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is wonderful. We can do it together and that'll motivate, both of us. And so I looked at it and I liked the look of it. And then we had our first consultation,
Hmm.
and it was really very different from anything that I tried before. And the beginning exercises about thinking about your future and doing those kinds of, I don't know if you call those ideations or visual imagery or whatever that is. What is that called?
I call it simply visualization,
Okay,
but it's a
so the
very, yeah.
visualization, and I thought, I like this. It seems to be starting out in a really good place, in a place that nothing else has ever done.
Hmm.
So I really like that part, and it made much more of a difference than I anticipated that it would.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a really good thing, and so we started trying it, and we decided not to wait until the first month was over, and mostly just so we wouldn't be focused on weight.
Hmm.
And before the month was up, I thought, if I'm going to feel this good and have this much energy, I really don't care if I
Wow.
lose pounds or not, because it was amazing. I felt so much better.
Wow, I didn't even know that. I knew you were weighing yourself once a month, but I didn't know the reason behind it was that.
Yeah.
Um, so before you even started the program, do you remember if you had any hesitations or worries about either the approach or just the program itself?
I didn't have a lot of worries about the approach.
Hmm.
I did wonder if it would work. I
Hmm.
thought, well, are we going to be able to succeed with this program? Because there's hundreds of programs, and I think at first you feel like this is going to be it. This is going to be it. But after a certain number of programs, you sort of feel like it's probably not going to be it.
Yeah.
So I was hopeful, and the more meetings we had, the more hopeful I became. So that was cool because I started seeing like what I felt like were real changes that weren't just until I lose this weight or I'm going to lose this weight, and that because it's a whole lifestyle change. And I know people say that all the time,
Hmm.
but a lot of times the things that they say are lifestyle changes aren't really. There's something that you feel like you're doing for just like right now.
Right.
And I feel like the visualizations give you that piece that's missing from almost all the others that make that not be for right now. It makes
Hmm.
it be for you for always.
Yeah, and just to clarify for the viewer who might be confused, like the visualization, essentially it's an exercise I do with everyone who starts where we visualize what the future looks like, and it's a really strong psychological tool to get your mind focused on on the goal, and we reinforce this every week to motivate you and really change your identity in some sense, right?
It and it does, and you don't think it's going to. Or I didn't think it was going to, because I
Yeah.
thought, well, this is an interesting exercise. But about the second or third time, I realized this is actually really changing me.
Hmm.
So,
So that's really awesome to see to hear because I do remember like week 3, 4, you were still like hesitating whether like all the information made sense, but you weren't sure if you were able to do it. But just
hmm
noticing how it, like I think by month 2 you were already pretty changed and your default mode of operation was changed.
yeah, and you find yourself like, well, since when do I not want cake?
Yeah.
Since when does that not look good? And the salad just makes me want to push somebody out of the way. It's just
Yeah.
totally strange. Or it just different things, and your sleep is so much better, and you think of things in terms of what you visualized and
Hmm.
how this or that is going to impact where you're trying to go to.
Right. So that's kind of before and maybe in the beginning. So what are the changes that you've noticed in yourself after completing the program?
In
So
myself,
yeah.
um, there's a lot of things that I used to like that I don't care for anymore,
Hmm.
and a lot of switches that I thought were going to be hard that really weren't, like Greek yogurt instead of sour cream, or adding beans to meat things to try to give them more fiber, and just little things like that that I thought, well, I'll try doing this, but we probably will really prefer the other way, and we don't. We
Hmm.
we like where it is now. I love whole grain bread, and I cannot stand to eat the white bread anymore. Even just a white tortilla, this is gross. to
Yeah.
me. And that doesn't necessarily have to be or want to be for anybody else. That's just how it has been for me. And just thinking about the fact that it's not a temporary thing and it's just going to be an ongoing thing. And I just think that that will be better and better.
Hmm. So in the beginning, you said your life, this was life changing. So
Yeah.
let's dig into a little bit into that. Like, what exactly makes it life changing?
Um, well, there's just a lot to be said for eating the right kinds of food and sleep, getting the right kind of sleep and the right kind of physical activity and just how it makes you feel.
Hmm.
It gets rid of the brain fog and it just gives you so much more energy, positive energy, and I think that for me is why it's life changing.
Hmm. And the viewer, whoever's watching this doesn't know, but I know this, that you were able to do a lot more because you have this energy. Do you want to share a bit about that? Like how this opened up?
Yeah, we started doing a lot more things. I've got some sidelines now in addition to my regular job. My daughter has taken on additional sport that she didn't participate in before, and we spend a lot more time outdoors
Hmm.
and walk and um, trying to get my own little business started, which I never would have had enough energy to do before.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think that's really great. S- So what are some of the changes in your daughter that you notice specifically?
Um, she doesn't look for or want those things that she used to want all the time.
Hmm.
Um, and she doesn't eat as much as she did before.
Hmm.
She still has to stop and think sometimes. And sometimes I'll ask her, are you actually already full? And usually, if she's wanting to eat more, she'll say no, but she won't get a whole lot more like she used to. I mean, she would eat enough for a child her size and age for maybe two or three kiddos to eat.
Yeah.
um, and she doesn't do that anymore. And on the rare occasions that she might get chips or cake, she doesn't finish it. She like never finishes it. I haven't said anything about it because I don't want her to like notice and then try to finish it or
Yeah.
something. But that's what she does. And then we went out the other day with my mother to eat, and she ordered something. And then when she got it, she looked at it and she goes, "Is this healthy?"
Hmm.
And then she wouldn't eat parts of it. I
I
guess
see.
I was like, "Well, this is, and that's not," and that she didn't want the
Hmm.
parts of it she didn't want. And so I thought that was interesting because she'd never done that before. So she didn't want to eat the part that wasn't good for her.
Hmm.
And she's a whole lot more active, and I think that probably just goes back to having more energy. And she's taken up the riding horses and she swims a lot. And now she's just bicycling all over the place all the time. She didn't go on long distances, but she rides daily,
Yeah.
quite a while. As
She
soon as
seems
she
to be
gets,
always biking whenever I talk to you.
yeah, she's always on the bicycle. Um, and she used to eat in front of screens all the time.
Hmm.
We both did. And I thought, okay, well, we want to have some screen time and we want to eat together. So we'll just put them together. It was more
Hmm.
of what I thought of as an efficiency type thing. It's not.
Yeah.
So we learned that that was counterproductive. And that was interestingly one of the harder things to stop doing. And I think that that was a big changer for her too,
Mm.
because I think she used to just basically eat throughout the entire program, whether she's hungry or not,
Yeah.
because they just sort of went together. And I don't think any other program I've ever looked at has had anything about that in it,
Mm.
and why that you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, so it's yeah, a lot of most people don't know the link between how tech addiction and food addiction go hand in
Yeah,
hand.
the science behind it I had never seen before.
Right. So I think a lot of parents watching this, they're probably mainly wondering if your daughter lost weight because that's what the program is about. And
She has lost some weight. She hasn't lost a lot of weight, as she
mhm,
has continued to lose weight, even though she has gained several inches. So
mm,
she's growing taller and losing weight at the same time. So it's kind of hard to know
yeah,
exactly how much weight she would have weighed if she hadn't been on the program.
I
But
see.
I know that she has lost weight overall, and she's gained about 3 inches and lost, I think, maybe about 8 pounds or so.
Mhm.
And I expect her to continue to lose weight.
And how does she feel like in her body or energetically?
She looked down one day and said, "Look, Mom, my belly is gone." And because she had a very pronounced stomach,
Hmm.
and it just really, I don't know, almost looked bloated. And we were in the store one day and we were just going to whatever we were looking at. And she looked down and she drew my attention to the fact that her stomach was gone. And I had noticed it getting smaller, but it was basically gone, at least comparatively.
Hmm.
And she was so happy.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I think she feels much more comfortable in her body, and she looks forward to weigh day because
Mhm.
that's every month, the first of the month. And then we do the calculations to see if she's lost anything. But I do know that she's getting taller and smaller at the same time.
Mm. And this is just to be clear, this is me without me ever asking about weight during the program. I think this is just mainly you guys being
Yeah,
excited to figure out, right?
yeah, we've never really, because you didn't ever ask about it.
Hmm.
So, and that was kind of cool too. That was a good thing about the program. But yeah, I think she's lost about 8 pounds. I've lost almost 11. I
Hmm.
haven't gotten any taller though,
Right.
but
That,
she has.
yeah. So this is a lot of parents think they come to my consultations, and one of the doubts that they have is how is focusing on myself going to impact my kid at all? Like how do I know this is going to work, right? Because a lot of them want to change their child and help them lose weight. What would you say to those parents? And did you share that doubt as well?
Did I what?
Did you also share that? Did you also have that doubt that focusing on yourself would help her?
I did. I didn't know if she was going to be on board or not.
Hmm.
And I kind of thought, well, she's not going to like, giving up her favorites and things like that. She actually likes whole wheat better than the other kind too now. And
Interesting.
um, you know that one of her favorite things is spaghetti.
Hmm.
And when we made the step to go to spaghetti squash, I thought, I don't know how this is going to fly, but she loved it. She loved scraping out the spaghetti strands and everything. And I think since I was excited about it, that made it exciting for her.
Hmm.
And so she looked forward to trying different things that we hadn't had before, and she's learning how to make some of those as well. But yeah, I don't think that there's very many kids that aren't going to pick up on what the parents are doing. I think if you're going through the motions of making changes, your kids might pick up on that. But if
Hmm.
you're really actually honestly making the changes, which the visualizations and everything help you really do that for real, I think the kids are going to really notice that. They're going to they're going to really realize that you are actually doing things differently.
Hmm.
Um, Turning the screens off, 2 hours before bed, and all of those things that are going to help. And you, if you're honestly doing it and trying, I think that they are going to be excited about making those changes and tend to begin to remind you when you aren't doing what Kame says that you should do. And I'm not saying your name right. Say your name for me again.
It's Kami. You
Kami.
said you
Say
had it
say
pretty right.
say
Yeah.
what, like Kami said that you're supposed to be, so you might think about what you want to share with them about what Kami says that you're supposed to do, because they're going to start telling you what they have
Yeah.
learned that you're supposed to be doing.
That's really beautiful to see. Like your daughter keeping you accountable based on the stuff you learn.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I won't ask you if you'd recommend this program because obviously you wouldn't be doing this video if you didn't, and I respect the viewer's intelligence. But I did want to ask you, what would you want to see improved in this program for you to recommend this more confidently to other parents?
Oh my. Um, this is going to be a hard question for me. Um, I I think that maybe there might be some meetings with maybe the parent and the child, but
Hmm.
that might run counterproductive. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
So it's
and
it's not the first time I hear this, by the way. This is a common
oh,
thing. And then yeah, sorry, go on.
and I know that you did say that they could meet you,
Hmm.
but for some reason she's just elected mostly not to. But she did pop in a couple of times, and I can tell she's listening
Hmm.
when we're talking, that she is over there listening. So that might actually be the best. Um, and I think maybe, I don't know, sometimes I kind of wanted to know what you noticed about the meals as I was photographing them and sending them.
Hmm.
And I thought maybe he should have one symbol for really, really great and another one for kind of just okay. And
Yeah.
then I don't know, because then you might have trouble with people saying, you're being judgmental or making them unmotivated because or
Mhm.
not wanting to be honest with you. So I can see how that would maybe not work out either. But a few times I was like, wonder if this is okay, if this is just okay, or if this is really good.
Yeah,
And just had those kind of questions in my mind sometimes.
I see. So just for the context for the viewer, it's everyone in the program sends me all the food that they eat throughout the program in a group chat. So this is and all I do is I give like a heart reaction. I just love
Yeah,
everything. And the
like
reason
you.
I do that is pretty simple. I've noticed that whenever I do give feedback for any, like if I immediately give feedback, people become closed off. They don't want to share everything. They start like hiding and not sharing
Yeah.
all the everything that they eat. What I
And
want to really encourage is like just the fact that you're aware that you're eating stuff, whether it's good or bad. This is why
yeah.
I give the positive reinforcement.
And then I guess if I had those questions, I probably should have just messaged and said,
Hmm.
how is this or what about that? Um, but I didn't. So
Yeah. So that's really
okay.
good to know. I think there might be room for me to give more feedback on food. That's what I'm hearing.
Mm.
Right. So that's good. I'll see how I can implement that in the program. So if you could give one message to another parent who maybe was in your shoes before during the program
Mhm.
and they're not sure, maybe there's some hesitation, what would you say to them?
If you really want to change your life and have a healthier, more energetic life that your kids are going to notice, then you should definitely try this.
Hmm.
You should give this a shot, whether you think it's going to work or not. Um, if it doesn't work, you know you're going to try something
Hmm.
because you're interested in helping your child. So I think it's definitely covers many more bases than a typical program would cover because you're gonna talk about sleep, you're gonna talk about screens, video games, um, those kinds of uh, activities that your kids can be involved in and yourself. And I feel like I'm rambling sometimes.
No, that's
Um,
okay.
because you can edit anything out that you don't want.
No, I'm
um,
keeping everything in. That's the thing. So that everyone's gonna know that this is, coming from the heart.
but yeah, if you want to make more real changes besides just eating and just calories, because it's hard to maintain that because there's no real motivation behind that other than your weight or your child's weight.
Hmm.
And this is going to affect their attitude and their mental health and their energy level and yours as well. So if you start, I really believe 90% of the kids or more are going to follow. They're going to follow you because they're going to copy you whatever you do. If you don't do it or you do this program, they're going to follow what you're doing.
Hmm. Yeah, and I really hope, I thank you for being authentic and vulnerable and sharing your honest experience. And that's pretty much it. I'm
Okay.
out of questions, and to whoever's watching this, I really hope this video helped you understand a bit more about the program and how this could help your family. And Tamara, thank you again. Thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.